fascinate a child. The way it can swing, turn, and move a load. Everybody likes watching a crane at work. They are a trademark of the construction industry. You can be in any city and not see any construction until you look up and see the silhouette of a crane across the sky.
But most people don't pay much attention to crane safety. That's because they put a lot of trust in the operator. But crane safety is everybody's business. One of the biggest challenges for anyone who works around a crane is being able to anticipate potential accidents. And that means keeping on your toes whenever you work around a crane. Accidents happen when we get so comfortable with what's going on around us that we let our guard down. And in our business, that can be deadly.
Over 1/3 of all crane accidents involve people working near or under the load. Injuries can also result when the load is lost due to unsafe rigging, hooks, or slings. Employees can also be injured while doing maintenance, particularly when they try to make adjustments around moving parts. And a surprising number of workers are injured during a boom swing, or when operators make movements without a signal or authority. Poor equipment maintenance, overloading the boom, and working too close to obstructions or electrical lines are also causes of accidents.
Most accidents are the result of human error, the failure to recognize an unsafe situation and correct it. The key to operating a crane safely is anticipating problems.
The job site and weather are constantly changing. The crane must be set up so it can be used safely in spite of these changes. Before starting work, do a survey of the job site. Check for potential hazards, like improperly stored materials, overhead obstructions, and the location of other equipment on the job site. Make sure the crane is secure against gusts of wind and impending storms. While all failures are not directly attributed to the operator, they can be attributed to the team or group of which the operator is the key. The operator alone has the final responsibility to determine whether or not the intended load can be moved safely. If there's any doubt, the operator should not operate the crane until satisfied that the load can be moved safely. Before crane operations begin, a contractor should verify that the operator is skilled in the operations of the equipment and check each day to see if the operator is physically able to operate the equipment.
The way to avoid accidents and injuries is to play it safe when the crane is operating. Safe crane operation includes pre-work inspection and maintenance and proper loading and moving procedures.
An important tool in these tasks is the logbook. The logbook must be filled out daily to show proper inspections, testing, and maintenance were carried out. It's important to follow the crane manufacturer's guidelines for lubrication, adjustment, and repair, and to carry out any tests required by OSHA. Test results should be properly recorded in the logbook. The crane must be inspected by the operator at the start of each shift. Whether you do the repair yourself or you report it to the proper maintenance people, all repairs must be made before operation.
Let's run through what this inspection should include.
Before starting the engine, check fuel, oil, and water levels. Make sure all safety locking devices are in place and controls are in neutral. Check that oil pressure, water temperature, and ammeter are working. Check air tank for proper pressure and relief pressure. All functional operating mechanisms such as sheaves, drums, brakes, limit switches, safety devices, and hydraulic cylinders must be checked. Fluid leaks can be a problem. Any leaks must be corrected before the machine is operated. If you suspect a leak on a pressurized line, use a sheet of paper to pinpoint its location. Never use your hand, because pressurized oil can be injected under your skin, causing serious injury. Always replace loose bolts. Never retighten them. If a bolt is loose, there's a good chance it has been stretched and is no longer up to spec. On the crane upper, visually inspect the boom and jib for straightness and for any evidence of physical damage, such as cracking or bending. Look for cracked or flaking paint, since this may indicate a failure. When checking lattice booms, be especially careful to look for bent members. Never try to straighten these members by hammering them out or heating and drawing them out. They must be cut out and replaced with equivalent pieces. Any welding must be done by a specialist familiar with the use of high tensile steel. As you continue the inspection, check over all wire ropes, rigging hardware, and attachments. Cable inspection is vital. When strands snap, the cable must be replaced. With the preformed cable commonly used on today's cranes, snapped strands do not stick out clearly. Therefore, careful cable inspection is important. Never move the machine until air system pressure is built up as indicated by low pressure warning devices. Then, operate the vehicle brake against engine power to determine that it is functioning properly. Check that lights are working and that the backup alarm is operational. Before you start operation, be sure any guards removed for servicing are replaced. Outriggers must be set in firm ground or on planks or mud sills. Be sure all outriggers are fully extended. Nearly a third of all mobile crane accidents are support failures due to poor setup, unstable ground, and failure to use the outriggers. Continue with a walk-around inspection. Check to make sure the machine is on stable, level ground. The swing radius barricade should be in place. Electrical hazards can be a real danger. Look for proper overhead clearance of electrical wires and other objects. Electrocution by contact with overhead wires is by far the greatest cause of crane-related fatalities.
If you must work near power lines, designate one employee whose sole task is watching the position of the crane in relation to electric wires. This person must have direct visual or verbal communication with the operator. Always allow at least 10 feet clearance between the boom and any high voltage lines. Consult the power company whenever lines carrying more than 50,000 volts are suspected, or you have any questions about a line.
If contact is made, stay where you are. You are safe as long as you do not leave the safety of the machine. If possible, maneuver the crane to break contact with the electrical current. If contact can't be broken, remain in the cab until the current is broken or the power is turned off. This demonstration will show that when you make contact with the equipment, your body becomes the path for the electricity to flow to ground. It's important to keep away from hot equipment. A coworker's instinct is to help, but by touching the equipment, they can be severely injured or killed. Before putting a machine that has been charged back to work, thoroughly inspect for electric arc damage. Before you begin working with a load, check the hooks. All hooks must have properly working safety catches, and any hook that is deformed beyond specification or cracked must be removed from service. The operator's compartment is also part of a complete inspection. Make sure the area is clean from the last shift, with no grease or oil on walking surfaces. The fire extinguisher should be in place and fully operational. Be sure the machine's load chart is clearly posted in the operator station and is legible at all times. Always follow the load capacities recommended by the crane manufacturer. If you've ever had a close call, you know how dangerous an overload can be.
When the inspection is complete, the crane is ready to go to work. Moving a load over a worker is not a good safety practice. Remember, over a third of all accidents occur under and around a load.
Employees should never be allowed to ride on hooks or loads. Convenience is not a valid reason to give employees a lift. The only time an employee may be hoisted by a crane is by using a properly designed man cage or basket. Proper signals are a very important part of safe crane operation. Only one person should be designated as a signalman, and both he and the crane operator must be thoroughly trained in hand signal communication. The use of two-way radios is effective, but it is important to keep up your hand signaling skills. Regardless of whether hand or verbal signals are used, if the operator loses communication with the signalman, he should stop operations until communication is reestablished.
Preparing a load for pickup takes training. Without proper training, a load could easily fall and injure someone. Supervisors should make sure that only a qualified person is responsible for rigging.
A sure way to avoid accidents is to make sure there is proper planning of all crane activities. Operators, signalmen, and supervisors should be aware of swing radius and make sure that employee activity in the area is prohibited. Prior to pickup, the operator must position his crane so that the turntable is level. Otherwise, the swing clutches can overheat from swinging the load uphill. Truck cranes need to be stabilized with outriggers. This protects the operator from kickback and possible rollover if a load is suddenly released, and is a requirement for the load limits of the crane. If you need to move the crane in a yard, be sure the boom is low enough to clear any overhead wire and structures. A signalman should always precede the crane. When handling a load, the crane operator should first raise it a few inches to find out if there is undue stress on any part of the rigging. Also, test the load to be sure it's well balanced and that the brakes hold. If there's a problem, do not attempt to move the load until necessary adjustments have been made. Loads should only be lifted vertically. Side pulling is one of the most common causes of boom failure. When a load is being lowered, the speed should be limited. Jamming the hoist brake suddenly in a short distance will double the stress on the rigging and on the crane.
There's a lot more to crane safety than most people realize. It's important to remember to
do a daily inspection. Follow the recommendations of the manufacturer and OSHA. Keep an up-to-date logbook. Make sure all repairs and maintenance are complete before the crane is operational. Follow safe operating procedures. Never overload the crane. Make sure everyone working with or near the crane is properly trained.
The safe operation of a crane is ultimately the responsibility of the operator. But he can't do it alone. Every employee needs to be aware of crane safety and keep an eye out for potential problems. The only way to be accident and injury-free is for everyone to play it safe.